Hello! Today I'm painting another quick color study. I'm painting on an ACM panel primed with a couple layers of acrylic gesso. My palette from top to bottom is titanium white, cadmium yellow light, cadmium orange, cadmium red, permanent rose, which I won't be using today, and ultramarine blue. The other colors at the top are yellow ochre and burnt sienna, and I'm using Oleogel as a paint medium. I start with a general outline. I can always push the shape and shift it around a little bit later, so it's not super important to place it just right for now. When I have an outline in place, I start placing shapes of color. I start with something easy, the base color of the owl. Yellow ochre and burnt sienna with white is a good mix for that color. Mixing yellow ochre with white makes the color yellow quite cool, so adding a warm earthy orange like burnt sienna makes the color warmer again. When I've established that base color, I mix up a shadow tone with ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. Because it's a combination of a cool blue and warm orange, I can make the mix warmer or cooler depending on what I want. I add some cadmium red into my shadow to make it opaquer and warmer when painting the darker parts of the wing. If I just use the transparent mix of ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, it has less covering power and mixes with the wet paint underneath, turning it into a cool color, which I want to reserve for the upwards facing planes of the wing. There's a general rule of thumb which goes cool light, warm shadows. It means that if the light source is a cool light, the shadows from that light source will appear warmer than what is being lit. Likewise, if you have a warm light source, the shadows will appear cool. However, there will still be variations within the shadows as well as within the lights. Within the coolness of a general shadow tone, for example, there will be parts that appear warmer. Color temperature is a complicated subject and there's much more to say about it. For this short video, I think it's sufficient to say color is relative, and it's important to stay aware of the color relationships in the picture you're painting. In this picture, the overall light is cool, which means shadows will be warm. However, the head will be on fire, which makes that a source of warm light to also consider. There will also be a gradient from warm to cool color going from the head on fire and down into the body. I'm painting this transition by adding cadmium orange and cadmium red to the base color of the owl. The parts of the wing of the owl that are facing upwards will be a violet, which I paint redder where it is influenced by the warmth of the flaming head. Now that I've blocked in the owl, I can paint the background in. I use a larger brush for this and mix the color with the brush as I go. This is what I usually do, and it introduces some nice subtle color variations into my mixes. I don't want the background here to be one single uniform color. I want it to have variation and an organic feel to it. If I wanted a single uniform color, I'd be better off mixing a large batch of that color with a palette knife, or just using a single color from the tube. This is a great time to push and adjust the shapes that I've already put down. Pushing and pulling the color like this mixes some of the color from the bird into the background and vice versa, and it helps harmonize the picture. Now that the background is in place, the overall relationships between colors and values in the picture is established. I also know that the drawing and placement of the bird is where it should be. Now I can start adjusting things in more detail, pushing things back into the shadows, and defining parts such as the talons of the owl. I will also add the flame to the head, instantly transforming this picture into something mysterious. I noticed that it wasn't working very well to just add more and more paint when painting the flame on top of the wet background paint. So I reached for my palette knife and scraped all that paint off so that I could start over. This is one reason I love painting on a flat, sturdy surface, such as a panel. It doesn't work as well to do this on a stretched canvas, and I'd also worry about damaging the canvas. Having said that, you can get some beautiful effects using this method on a canvas. So while I scraped off the underlying paint from the background when painting the flame, for the head I just keep building up towards my brightest bright. I like this way of building towards the light instead of just putting it in there right away. I think it has the potential of creating more interest for the viewer. The exact shape of the flame is a decision I purposefully leave up until I start the larger painting. I do know that I want it to be more ambiguous and less defined than the ones I've painted in the past. This study is actually a result after having begun a painting of this bird already. That one's close to completion, but I felt very curious about what would happen if I changed a couple fundamental things about it. Instead of going down that route, and most certainly giving myself a lot of headache in the process like I've done in the past, I decided to simply paint another version and call the first one done. This will be a much larger painting, and they will look quite different in the end. Going back to speak about lighting, the owl is lit by a general cool light, and in places also a warm light. Then we have reflected light bouncing into the shadows. Reflected light is an opportunity to marry your subject with your background, and it can really make a painting come alive. To make things harmonize in this picture, I decided to introduce the background color as reflected light on both the shadow side of the post that the owl is perched on, as well as reflected light on the front of the owl that's facing downwards and is in shadow. This will make the background feel less like just background and make everything feel more atmospheric. I really enjoy the harmony you get when using a somewhat limited palette like this. What I wanted to explore with this painting was a surrealistic burning owl with naturalistic color and a soft seafoam green background. I love the harmony of yellow and green combined like this. Together with the red, orange and violet tones, I think it simply put looks like eye candy. And that's all for this one. My name's Alexander Fjellstedt, and I'm a Swedish oil painter. I hope you enjoyed this demonstration and that you learned something. I find doing studies before diving into paintings is invaluable. It usually saves me a lot of time and from a lot of frustration later on in the process. So give it a try if you're already doing it. Let me know if this helped you in any way, and please do like and subscribe if you liked this video. I post at least one painting video a week here on YouTube, and I love sharing what I've learned in hopes of inspiring and helping other self-taught artists. I sell everything I paint, and links to my website as well as social media can be found in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next one. Take care. Hej då.